Hello and welcome to the Blues Podcast. My name is Big Boy Bloater and here with me is Adam Woolley. How you doing, man?
I'm not bad at all. How are you doing, Bloat?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very excited actually because the other day I had a lovely chat with the one and only Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Yes, and I was very lucky to listen to that chat, and what a brilliant interview it was. He's an interesting guy, isn't he? He's not just all about the blues. Well into his cars.
He is. Yeah, I think the Cars was he got really excited about that. Definitely. You know, I was trying to talk to him about guitars and cars and films and all sorts of things, but I think Cars is where he really came alive.
But I am interested to hear some of these plastic guitars, because you mentioned those a few times, and I've never really found out about these. Maybe it's a little bit before my time. Yeah,
me too, I think. But, no, I think we're about the same age, aren't we? But
you wish.
No, him and me, that is, not me and you.
Oh, okay.
You're just a lad, aren't you? I mean, come on. But do you know what? We should just play the interview, really, shouldn't we, and have a listen?
Yes, let's do it. This is Big Boy Bloater talking to Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
So, it's Big Boy Bloater here for the Blues Podcast. I bumped into the one and only legendary Kenny Wayne Shepherd. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. It's just so random that we ran into each other.
I know. What are the chances of that?
I know, right?
It's like we planned it almost, isn't it? Now, last time I saw you probably don't remember last time I saw you, but last time I saw you, we spoke about all sorts of things. You were telling me about your dad, who was a radio DJ back in the day, and he had this massive record collection.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got you into a lot of music in the first place. What I want to know is, out of that big record collection, what were the records that you were kind of sneaking off with, taking and thinking, oh, you won't notice that's gone. I'll just have that.
Well, the two biggest ones that come to mind are the Muddy Waters album called Hard Again, that Johnny Winter produced and played guitar on. It was actually, that record was done the year I was born in 1977 on a label called Blue Sky Records. And the other one was the ZZ Top album called Fandango, which was like a half live record and half studio recordings. And that was when, I think at that time, ZZ Top was the largest touring act in the world. They were drawing the biggest crowds out of everyone. And they were just at the prime, man. And, the tone, like Billy Gibbons' guitar tone. It's like if you were to ask me, like, what is the quintessential Les Paul guitar tone, I would point you directly to that album and those live tracks, because it's just ungodly, the sound he gets out of that thing. So those are the two most frequent albums that I would kind of sneak off with, go into my grandfather's room, put them on the record player, and turn the stereo up so loud that he would come down the hall telling me to turn that mess down, and jumping up and down on his bed playing air guitar and things like that.
So how old were you then, roughly?
4, 5, 6,
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you have any kind of clue about what it was that attracted you to that, or it's just like a crazy sound that you thought was great?
It was just a feeling, and the personality and certainly the guitar playing and the music.
Looking back on that tone now, was it something was always there? You realised straight away that tone was like legendary, or was that grown because now you know the album so well?
Well, I think what I knew at that age was that I liked the way the music made me feel. And I know, looking back now, that I was always, as I was listening, I was always focused primarily on the guitar as the main instrument that caught my ear.
Yeah.
Beyond anything else, including whatever the vocalist was doing. I was always just innately tuned into the guitar. But, I think that, the sound, the actual sound, that's something that, I think an artist kind of cultivates over the life of their career. And to me, that's the pinnacle of Billy Gibbons' guitar tone right there. Now, he may really dig, the sound that he has now better than what he had then. But to me, that was it. He had reached the holy grail of guitar tone for a Les Paul right there.
Nowhere else to go, eh?
No, that's it. That's the top of the mountain.
So was this about the time that you were sort of being given these plastic guitars?
Yeah.
How did that work out? You're hearing this great electric guitar sound on record, and you've got this plastic guitar.
Well, I remember not understanding how they got. I didn't realize the difference between the guitars at that point. I just knew that what I was doing sounded nothing like that. And then I remember, even after I got my first electric guitar, sitting down and trying to learn some Jimi Hendrix songs and going, how am I supposed to get these sounds out of this thing? You know, and that's before I realized that there were effects pedals and, you know, like the Octavia or the wah-wah pedal or whatever. I was like, he's doing something that, there's something going on there that I don't have access to.
Some kind of voodoo.
Yeah, something, you know.
So you started off on these plastic guitars that you kind of got through pretty fast. You went all the way up then to Fender actually making you a signature guitar. I mean, how's that working out for you?
Oh, it's great. So we did, I think they introduced that model in 2007, and it was on sale for a long time. We had 3 different models, and we started off where they made them in Mexico at their plant there. They assured me, they were like, the quality is really great, but it helps us, you know, put it at a price point where it's, you know, within reach for young people, because there's a lot of young people that hear, you know, they're familiar with my story. They're you know, fond of blues music, and we wanted them to be able to afford the guitar. So part of the deal with doing that was that eventually we would come out with a new version that was made in America for a little slightly higher price point, a little better build quality. And so we've just finished the design for that, and that's going to be released summer of next year. So that should be, you know, really exciting, because, you know, they've had those guitars for more than 10 years now, and, you know, everybody's bought one that's going to get one, and so now we have a whole new design with new features and things like that, so to give the fans something new to sink their teeth into and get their hands on.
Yeah. So when you get a signature Stratocaster, I mean, how much design do you get to put? Because I mean, it's such an iconic design already. It's been around for so long. Everybody's so familiar. I mean, how much do you get to put your own personality on that guitar?
You can be as involved or as not involved as you choose to be. And I personally am a very hands-on artist in everything that I do, whether it's the designs for our merchandise, or the production of the record, or the arrangements of the song, or the set list for the show, so forth and so on, all the way to, obviously, if I'm going to be putting my name on a guitar, you know, I want to make sure that it has the things that I would want in a guitar on it. So, you know, I was very instrumental in every step of the process, and especially in the first guitars. And then this one, we taken even several steps further with the design of the new one. And so, you know, I think they would let you dig as deep as you want to go over there. Or maybe there's some guys that are like, hey man, just put something together and send it to me and I'll say yes or no. But
just
I'm not
stick my name on the top. You know,
yeah, I'm not that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you playing one? Touring at the moment? I mean,
not over here. Over here, I'm still playing the previous signature models. Okay. Once it comes out, though, you'll start seeing me playing.
Are you kind of obliged to use this guitar now? I mean, if a really, really sweet Gibson turned up, you're thinking, oh man.
I play Gibsons as well. Yeah. Like in the States, the first 3 songs of the show, I'm playing a Les Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've been a Fender guy since I was a teenager. I mean, I signed on as a Fender artist when I was 16 years old, and have been ever since. So this is almost like 30 years now. Yeah. You know, so I love the guitar. Like everything about a Strat feels just perfect to me. I do enjoy playing other guitars as well, and especially in the studio. You know, there's just like some songs you go, that song needs a Les Paul on it. It's just, you know, so you get a Les Paul and you play it. So yeah, it's what's most appropriate for the music.
Yeah. Okay, I've got a moral question for you now. This is a real tough one. So you've got your favourite guitar in one hand, a baby in the other arm. Someone throws a can of beer at you. Which do you drop?
Oh, you dropped the guitar. I mean, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have said drop the beer.
No, but no, well, oh yeah, well that makes sense. But I mean, I thought maybe you meant to deflect or protect. But I would drop the guitar. The guitar would, I mean, my guitars have hit the floor many times and they've been just fine. I certainly wouldn't drop my child. You know.
Children do heal up quite well, though, don't they? I mean, come on, you must have dropped them a couple of times.
Well, they're resilient little beings. You know, it's amazing. You can watch a little kid like walk a few steps and then just hit the floor and then just get up and walk right away. Where, you know, like somebody my age hits the floor like that, you have to collect yourself.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good to know then. Yeah, you'd catch the beer, but let the guitar go.
Well, but I don't drink. I didn't realize the question was about catching the beer. I thought it was protecting yourself.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Because I don't drink alcohol.
That's what we're saying.
I'm not. I found the world is a better place for me and everyone else if I don't drink alcohol.
How long has it been?
Almost 17 years.
Okay, that's great, man.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You don't miss it at all.
Not one bit. Actually, I found that my life, personally for me, has been far more enhanced without things of that nature than it ever was when I was choosing to drink. So, and I feel I'm much more present for everything. I have much more clarity, and I can remember things much better, you know? So, like, when a really great thing happens, I'm able to enjoy it and be there 100% for the experience, you know?
Yeah. How do you deal with being around drunk people? Because aren't drunk people like the most boring people in the world?
Well, look, I mean, here's the thing. Just because I choose not to drink and I feel like it's not in my best interest to do it, doesn't mean that you shouldn't drink, or you know, so that's an individual choice, right? So I don't have any problem with being around people that are drinking, or I don't have a problem with like people that choose to drink or whatever. That's your own personal choice. Now, there is a point, like I think for all of us, when you're around people that have maybe had one too many or two too many or maybe 10 too many, I think every one of us kind of reaches a point where it's time to go. You know, and for me, I just know when it's time to go. Just because, you know, I've had my fun, and they've kind of gone beyond a certain point, and so we're not going to be relating on the same level, you know, for the rest of the evening. So what's the point?
Once they start getting into that sort of repeating phase, I love you, man. I love you. You know, I love you so much.
It's like I heard you the first time.
Okay, let's change the subject a little bit. I want you to tell me about Noah Hunt. Now, do you think, between me and you, is he kind of like still in the limelight just a little bit? Do you have to like pull him back at all at times? So,
no, not at all.
It's my name on the marquee here. No, come on.
I've never had that problem. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy, like I just feel really comfortable with my own position and my own band. So I don't feel like the need to like try and dumb down what everyone else is doing so that I can shine. I feel like I try and surround myself with what I believe are some of the greatest musicians around, because they're great at what they do. And for me to try and put a damper on that for some kind of selfish gain, I think would be doing everyone a disservice. So Noah and I have a really fluid and very, you know, it's a synonymous kind of thing that we do on stage. We've been doing this together for so long that we kind of just know how to complement one another. His voice has always complemented my guitar playing and my songwriting very well. And over the years, I've started singing more and more, and now we're just about sharing almost, he's about 60% and I'm about 40% as far as lead vocals go. But rather than, you know, it be a situation where it's like, okay, I'm going to sing now, and, you know, thanks, you know, thanks for all your help over the years, but I'm going to take this over. It's like, he's part of the family. I mean, he's been with me for over like 22, 23 years. And, you know, he's got a great sounding voice, and he also frees me up on the songs where he's singing lead vocals, and I can just concentrate on, you know, playing all the guitar that I want. And then I also have the opportunity to sing lead vocals whenever I choose to do that as well. And then he gets the chance to play some rhythm guitar behind what I'm doing. So.
Are there any points where like Noah's singing a song, and I mean he's a great singer. I think he's a fantastic singer. Noah, you know, he's singing a song and it's a really great song, and you think, oh, gee, I wish I could have sung that song. You know?
No, because in the studio, that's where I determine all of that in the studio. It's like I write songs, and then I can pretty much tell when the song is written who I think it's going to be most appropriate for. There are the times occasionally where I will write a song and I'll think, I'm going to sing that song in the studio. Then I'll go into the studio and I'll try singing it, and I'm not happy with it, you know, and I'm just like, it just doesn't sound, it didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. So then Noah ends up singing it. There was also have been times where I thought this is a song for Noah to sing. Noah sang the song, and then I ended up going, you know what, let me take a stab at that. And I actually like the version with me singing on it better. So, you know, it just really depends on what's best. But most of the time, it's kind of predetermined, and I generally have a pretty good instinct on who's going to be the right voice for that song.
Yeah. So there's no dirt to dish on Noah. Then we can't. That's not an avenue we can go down there. It's like, oh,
well, you're not going to get much dirt from me on anybody. I'm just not that kind of guy. But you know, what can you say bad about him? He's a good guy. He's got a killer voice. And he's been a part of the family for a long time.
Yeah. Where did you guys meet? Do you remember the first time you met?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a different guy singing on my first record. I sang one song on my first album, and then after that, I just did background vocals for the next couple of records, but I just, at that time, I sounded like a child. Like my voice, I literally sounded like a child, and that was not what I heard from my music. So I didn't have a problem. You know, I talked to Derek Trucks about this. I'm like, man, does everybody give you a hard time about not singing like they did me? And he's like, oh yeah, man, all the time. And he's like, but you know, I have standards, you know, and I agree. I was like, yeah, man, if I have standards for my music, and if my voice isn't up to those standards, I don't have a problem finding somebody who has the voice that meets those standards. So we had a different guy singing on the first record. We did the first album in a tour, and that album was extremely successful. It sold like 500,000 records in the States really fast. The first single went to number 5 on the rock charts. Eventually, we sold 1 million copies, went platinum, but things didn't work out with me and the lead vocalist at the time. And so we parted ways. So right before we were going to record the second album. So then we had to find a new singer. And so we put out the word, and we flew like 12 different guys down to Louisiana, and we held auditions, and we got a rehearsal space, and, you know, told all 12 guys, learn these 3 songs.
Yeah.
And be prepared to jam on something. And we just started bringing them in one at a time. And it was pretty obvious, I think. It was between Noah and this other guy, but it was pretty obvious that Noah was probably the right guy for the job. Yeah. And so we did the, you know, audition. And then I took him out later that night because I felt like I should get to know him a little better. And we kind of hit the town and had a rowdy experience that evening. And, you know, kind of stayed out all night, and then played again together the next day, and then sent him home on an airplane, let him know, I think a couple days later he got the job, and within 2 weeks we're in the studio recording the second record, and here we are 23 years later.
Wow, yeah. So the other guy who almost made it, did you still keep his phone number just in case? Like,
no, I
still
can't.
got it these days.
I don't remember his name now.
You know, dangle over Noah's head every now and then and say, "Come on, Noah." You know,
no,
like,
but the guy was a really good singer. But you know, I've just always had a pretty good instinct on, you know, what I, you know, think was right for my music. And, you know, the guy technically had all the chops, but there was something that seemed most appropriate about Noah's voice.
Yeah, he's a great singer. I mean,
yeah.
I think he's fantastic. The work he does with you is amazing. Apart from talking to multiple press people before shows and, you know, eating up all your time, what do you like to do before the show? Is there any pre-gig ritual for you?
No, we're not very ritualistic. We just kind of, you know, we like to get out and walk about the town and kind of see, you know, what's around. We're big food people,
right?
You know, we're foodies in the band. So, you know, because we don't have a big nightlife. So during the daytime, that's where we get out and we go and try and find really great food. Usually we want to find like a local place. We try and stay away from chains as much as possible, and find something that's unique to the area that you can only find there, and that's extremely well reviewed, and have a great culinary experience.
Yeah. So, and after the gig, conversely, I guess it's just pretty much a quiet wind down, is it?
Yeah, we just kind of wind down, you know, talk, hang out, whatever, and until it's time to.
You don't kind of analyze and go, well, you know, this mistake was made tonight, and you know, we've got to tighten this up tomorrow.
If there's anything about that, it gets dealt with directly after the show. Right, it gets brought up because for me, if I don't deal with it right in the moment, I'll forget.
Yeah.
So if there's something that happened on stage, then I'll be like, hey, you know, we need to address this or this or this or whatever, and then we just move on from it, and that's that.
And it's done.
Yeah.
Done and dusted, eh? Mm-hmm. What's the worst part of being on the road for you?
I mean, the biggest challenge, the 2 biggest challenges. The first, obviously, is being away from my wife and my children. That's made easier because of technology. You know, we can stay in touch a lot better, and we can do the FaceTime on the phone and see each other, which helps a lot. But there's still no substitute for actually being at home with your family. That, and then just the travel. I mean, you know, the work out here is the travel. That's the work part of the job. Because playing music and being on stage in front of the fans, that's fun. You know,
that's the easy part, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, it's like, you know, the laborious part of the job is just the travel.
Yeah. Is there anything you do to kind of get you through that time? Is it, you know, you're into books, or is it a TV on the bus and you're watching? What's this program you just discovered?
Well, the bus is not an issue. Like, you know, the bus is a great way to travel. I sleep really well on the bus going down the road, and yeah, you can watch, you know, something on the television, or
is it Gogglebox you've just discovered?
Yeah. It's my new favorite show. It's hilarious. But yeah, so it's airplanes, that really can just be the biggest, pain sometimes. But, you load up your reading material or, download some movies on your phone or your iPad or whatever and, pass the time.
You got any favorite type of movies in particular? What's
You know what? It's so weird. I've seen, like, especially on the airplanes, like they have their in-flight entertainment, and we fly so much that I have seen nearly every single movie that is available on the airplane. So now I'm just having to rewatch movies that I've already seen before because I've already seen them all.
Yeah.
But I don't have a favorite. I mean, just anything that's entertaining. I don't like, if a movie's crap, then I'll just turn it off. You know?
You don't have any kind of favorite sort of genre? Like
I mean, look, I like
comedies
action comedies. I mean, well, I like just about anything if it's done well.
There's the thing, isn't it? If it's done well.
Right.
Yeah. You're married to Hannah Gibson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's Mel Gibson's daughter.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you guys meet?
Just mutual friends, in L.A. I'd been out there for a couple of years and just kind of ran into each other. And it was one of those really strange things where... I was not in a relationship. I was not looking to be in a relationship. But the moment that I saw her, I knew that I was going to marry her. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And, so we took our time. We didn't rush into anything. Because it's like in theory, I believe, I'm kind of old fashioned. I believe marriage is supposed to be a very long-term commitment, should be till death do us part. In an ideal scenario. And so there's no sense in just rushing right into things. I think kind of people fall into a trap with that. So we took our time and we didn't rush into a marriage, but we planned on it and we did it. And we've had a extremely satisfying marriage together with a great family, with great children. And, I'm just very happy.
Yeah, that's good to hear these days.
Yeah.
How'd you get on with Mr. Gibson?
Great. I had never had a problem being around famous faces because at a young age, like because of my dad, I was going to all these concerts and seeing all these famous people. I mean, like iconic people like James Brown, everybody knows James Brown. And like, he was like Uncle James to me because we spent so much time with him and he was like part of the family. And so, every artist that came through town, no matter how big they were, it's like I was always hanging out backstage with them. So at a very early age, I came to realize that famous people are just still people.
Yeah, sure.
Just more people know who they are.
Yeah.
And so I've never been awestruck really, and or uncomfortable around really famous people. So that was not a barrier for me to overcome. And he was, he was just always really nice to me. And I think that, the main thing is that they saw that I had a tremendous amount of respect for their daughter. And, my intentions with her were honorable. And so I think that, as a parent, those are two of the most important things. And so we had that squared away from the get-go.
Yeah. And how's he react to your music? Has he got any of the albums?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever like walked in and caught him listening to an album?
No. But no, he told me, or he had told me that years ago when my first album had come out, he was doing a film. It's either North Carolina or South Carolina or whatever, but he had a driver at the time that would drive him, to the set and everything. And that guy actually turned him on to my music back then on my first album, gave him a copy of my first album. So he had been familiar with my music before he met me. And he's been to many of my shows and stuff. I don't know that he, like, in his spare time, he's trying to rock out to his son-in-law's music, but I do know that he can appreciate it. And he certainly has shown up, there and been there for me at some of my shows in the past.
And is that vice versa? I mean, what do you think of his films?
I think he's one of the greatest actors of our time and directors as well. He's a tremendous talent. I don't think anybody can take that away from him at all.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Rides, because this is a band that you've worked with previously. Mm-hmm. What's happening with those guys these days?
Well, Steven had been on tour with Judy Collins back in the U.S. They did a tour together, and so at the time I was out with my band touring for our previous album, Lay It On Down, And then I did the Traveler and had that ready to go. So then we released the Traveler this year, and we've been out doing that. He's been at home, just kind of spending time with his family. I know he's like remodeling his house and things like that. Barry's just kind of been ready to go at a moment's notice. But Steven, really the main thing has been my schedule.
Yeah.
Because I've been so busy. So we haven't had a chance. Barry and I got together about a year ago and started writing some songs in anticipation for the next Rides record. But we really have to get the three of us back together to really do that properly. So, we've talked about it. I think everybody wants to do another album. It's just a matter of finding the right timing for it.
Yeah, yeah. Getting the 3 diaries to match up, eh? And
yeah, I mean, you got 3 different guys, 3 different artists, all with their own independent careers, and trying to find that magical opening in the schedule that lines up. That's the challenge.
I wanted to ask you, I meant to ask you a minute ago, when the touring is finally finished, you've got a couple of weeks off maybe, you can go home with the family, it's a real chilled out Sunday morning, the day is yours. What would you like to do? What would be your downtime? What would you do?
Well, I mean, generally, we just, especially on Sundays, we either go and spend time with my in-laws, or if we're at home, then we just, spend the afternoon outside, and in the backyard, maybe turn on the jacuzzi, have the kids in the swimming pool, put some music on, cook some food, just really take it easy and enjoy some quality family time with a minimal amount of distractions,
What sort of music would you play at home? What would you listen to?
Oh, I mean, I play blues and rock and roll at home.
Yeah.
Or
you don't like to get away from that thing. I've done that on the road all the time. I want to hear something completely different now.
Well, no, I mean, sometimes, but I really enjoy like 1940s like swing music, and jazz, but I'm a fan of blues music and rock music. So that's what I like listening to as well. I hear plenty of other stuff. My kids will play, other music. My wife plays other music. So I get my fill of other genres as well.
Yeah.
Whether I want to or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, if I'm controlling the dial, you're most likely going to hear blues and rock and roll and, or something that has some, a little bit of history behind it.
What would you do if one day one of your kids came up to you and said, Dad, I think, blues is stupid, guitar's stupid, I'm getting a saxophone and I'm joining a jazz band?
I'd say, great, go for it.
Yeah.
I would say blues is not stupid and guitar is not stupid, but go get yourself a saxophone and knock yourself out.
Would you encourage them into the music business?
Well, I will encourage them into pursuing anything that they think they may be passionate about. So if it's guitar, if it's saxophone, if it's art, if it's sports, if it's, whatever, I just want them to know that if they want to do something, they can do it, at least give it a shot and see where it takes you. And maybe that leads you to the next thing that you want to do, but just go out and do it.
You're not like encouraging them to be a doctor or a lawyer or something?
That too. I'm not encouraging them anyway. I'm only encouraging them to apply themselves.
Yeah.
Encouraging them to know that nothing stands in their way. The only thing that stands in their way would be themselves, convincing themselves for whatever reason that they can't do it. But only to believe that you can do whatever you want to do and whatever you put your mind to, and absolutely go pursue that, And so if it's being a lawyer or a doctor, I mean, who am I to say? It's their lives, but I will facilitate as much as possible, opportunities for them to pursue anything they feel passionate about.
That's great. I mean, what a great dad.
Yeah, well, I mean,
fantastic, man.
That's
yeah.
what, and we want for our kids, I think as parents, we all want our kids to have even more opportunities than we did. For me, it's an exceptional situation because I had incredible opportunities come my way at a very young age. It's not the norm. But, I feel like that was kind of almost like a predestined situation, as weird as it is to say that. I feel like I was this is what I was put here to do. And one way or the other, it was going to end up happening regardless. So that's not the case all the time with every single person. But I do believe that, they should absolutely believe that whatever they want to do, they should be able to do it.
If you woke up tomorrow morning and for some awful reason you couldn't play guitar anymore, what else would you do?
Well, from the very beginning of my career, before anybody knew if it was really going to pan out, I was doing some of my first interviews, and they were like, "So what are you going to do if this music thing doesn't work out?"
Really?
And well, because you never know. It's kind of like hitting the lottery, you know?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you think about the amount
Yeah.
of people that buy lottery tickets versus the amount of people that win the money, it's kind of would be about the same odds as how many people would want to be a musician or a famous, you know, artist, and then the people that are actually able to you know, put food on their table doing it. It's a small percentage. So, I always said that I would do something with cars. And, you know, at that time when I was young, it was about racing them. And I would be, I would be the driver, you know, of a race car. I think now I'd be a bit too old for that. But always I've had a passion for cars. My music has afforded me the opportunity to pursue my passion with cars as well. So it's like my side hobby, but sometimes it's a toss-up as to which I'm most passionate about. Is it the cars or is it the guitars? But I love it. And so, you know, I would probably start, you know, open up a shop, restore. I customize and restore classic American muscle cars now for myself. But maybe I would try and make a career doing that.
So are you working on something at the moment?
Yeah, I have a 1970 Plymouth Cuda convertible that we've torn apart and started the metal fabrication on, and it's going to be a pro touring machine. You know, it's going to have lots of modern technology in it. We've got a 707 supercharged Hemi crate motor that's going to go into it. It's going to be plenty fast and have lots of style and classic looks to go with it. It's going to be a fun machine when it's all said and done.
Sounds awesome, man.
Yeah.
I used to have an old 65 Chevy panel van.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute piece of shit. You know, the hardest thing for me was holding it together. You know, in the end, it actually was held together with gaffer tape. You know, it was... and I think classic cars, they're either one way or the other. They're either like properly low end, kind of a real snotter is what we call them in this country, absolute snotter, or that lovely, lovely high end where everything's just rebuilt beautifully and all that. And I take it you're more kind of like the high end sort of stuff.
Yeah, we try and buy base model vehicles. So we buy the cheapest version of we get the body that we want, but instead of buying the very rare collectible Cuda convertible that they only made 112 with this engine and this transmission, and you know, we buy like the one that had like, you know, the V6, or actually it was a straight 6 back then, but anyways, the 6-cylinder or the smallest V8. That would be like the cheapest version of that car, because what we want is the shell. So then we tear it all apart down to bare metal. We fix everything about the metal, that, you know, tighten everything up. Then we put tons of, you know, modern technology into the vehicle to make it handle and perform like a modern vehicle. And then, you know, when we're done, everything is brand new. And you know, it's like driving a new old vehicle. Yeah, much better than my experience, I can tell you. Is there like a holy grail of motor vehicles for you now? Something that you really would love to get your hands on? Well, that was it for a long time.
Right.
I wanted a 70 Cuda convertible. So this is like, you know, been a goal of mine, and, you know, a car that I've wanted for at least 15 years that's now coming, you know, to fruition. So once I have to get this finished first, I can't move on to the next. I'm a task person, so I'm task oriented. So I start an endeavor, I have to complete it in order to move on to the next. So I don't have my eyes set on the next one yet. I have to finish this one, and then I can answer that question for you.
So when you finished it and the journey's kind of done, it's all done and everything's brilliant, and is that the point where you sort of go, okay, I'm going to get rid of that now and move on to something else?
No, I haven't gotten rid of any. I've only gotten rid of one car, and it was I just never really related to that vehicle very well.
Oh, what was it?
It was a 1950 Ford business coupe.
Okay.
It's a beautiful car, but I just never really connected with the car. But all my other cars I've kept, and I have these sentimental attachments to them, and because I use them, like, you know, they're not just like eye candy. Then it's not like a trophy for me. Like, I get in the car and I drive it, and we go on cross country road trips with my friends, you know, and so we have all these experiences and these lifelong memories of these journeys in these vehicles, and so then it becomes almost like a member of the family to me. So no, I'm not into. There are guys though that, like, it's all about, you know, the process, and then once the process is complete, then they kind of lose interest in that. They sell that and they move on to the next project, you know. But for me, it's it's the entire thing, but it also includes the ownership, you know.
Going back to guitars, is that kind of the same thing? Do you get quite sort of attached to guitars as well?
Yeah, I've never sold an instrument. So I have every instrument that I've ever had. And I'm not a collector. I don't consider myself to be a collector. I have a lot of guitars. I've never counted them all. I don't know exactly how many I have, but I don't acquire them, as a collector would. I acquire them like almost like a mechanic acquires his tools.
Yeah.
So he doesn't consider himself to be a tool collector. He gets the tools that he needs to get the job done the way it needs to be done. And so that's what they represent to me, the instruments, and I had one 1958 Strat that I bought back in the 1990s that was in perfect condition. It looked like a brand new guitar. And then I proceeded to play it on stage every night. And within a year or two, I had like destroyed the finish on this, just worn it, because I'm a very aggressive player. And I play really hard, and I play heavy strings and a heavy pick. And so, the original collectability of that guitar would be that it was such a pristine example. And so for a collector, like, I have really diminished the value of this guitar because I just wore the finish off so badly. So I realized then, I'm not meant to be the custodian of these impeccably preserved instruments, because I'll play them because I believe they're meant to be played, and I'll play them so hard that it will destroy, the value based on its retained originality. So I just decided I don't need to go down that road, because I have plenty of guitars and they all serve a purpose, but I'm not a collector of pristine original examples, because I'll destroy that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Do you still have any of the plastic guitars left?
I don't, but it would be cool to get my hands on one. I'm sure that you could probably find one on eBay or something like that. I mean, I can remember exactly what it looks like in my head, so it wouldn't be hard to spot one if I saw it. But no, I literally would wear those things out, and then we would toss them in the trash, and my grandmother would go get me another one.
Disposable guitars. Huh?
Yeah.
I like it. If there was anyone, alive or dead, that you could have a guitar lesson with or a jam with, who would it be?
For me, it would be Jimi Hendrix.
Wow, yeah.
I think for a lot of people, it'd probably be Jimi Hendrix. And I've come as close as anybody could. Like, I played with every member of Jimi Hendrix's bands, from the Band of Gypsies to the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Mitch Mitchell, Noel Redding, Buddy Miles, Billy Cox, all those guys. And, the only guy I didn't play with was Jimmy himself. But I did get to play Jimmy's white Stratocaster that he played at Woodstock. Right. Like, I played the actual guitar. And so I feel like that's probably the next best thing to playing with Hendrix himself. But, the guy is like, one of the most far out guitar players ever, even to this day. And so, I think just to be able to vibe off of that in person would be an incredible experience.
Yeah. What do you think the worst gig you've ever done is?
I don't know.
Have they all been fantastic? You've been very lucky.
Well, no. I'm sure there have been some bad ones, but here's the thing. The way my brain works, it's like this protective mechanism. It kind of blocks out the bad stuff in every aspect. So, like, I tend to, like, if there's a really bad experience with the show, I just don't really retain that information. It just kind of move on. I tend to really just involuntarily focus on the more positive things. So I'm sure there's been some bad ones. I do remember doing a gig a lot, and it wasn't that it was a horrible gig. I just remember this is when I was still a relatively unknown artist, and I was still doing, like, when we did a show, it was like they'd pay us $200, and I had like 5 or 6 guys in the band, and so everybody's going home with, I don't know, $20 or $40 a piece. And this was like, I feel like it was Christmas Eve, or it was just some really weird gig, right before Christmas. I think it was Christmas Eve, and like literally nobody showed up, and I was like, okay, note to self, never play another gig that close to Christmas, because like it's a complete way. Nobody wants to go see live music when they're supposed to be at home, putting the presents under the tree for their children,
Yeah.
Like things like that. But I don't think we've ever had a really horrendous gig, because to me, making music is one of the happiest moments of my day,
I'm really glad to hear it, man. So I guess you won't be gigging around Christmas time then. What is Big family Christmas for you guys?
Yeah, for me, I mean, we have a large family now, and so obviously, yeah, those kinds of holidays are certainly reserved for family time.
Do you have to put on the Santa suit or?
No, I don't think I would. I mean, even if I was like, in my 70s, I don't think I would ever look quite right in the Santa suit. My dad, on the other hand, he could probably sport the Santa suit pretty well.
Well.
He's even got the beard and the gray hair.
He's already there then?
Yeah.
Oh. Very last question. What could be next? What are you aspiring to now and thinking, that's what I want to do. That's where I want to be. I mean, you've done so well. You've done so much. But what's next?
Well, one of my biggest goals right now is continuing to grow our fan base over here. We have spent the past several years, like I first came to Europe in the 90s, and I came twice. And then after that, it was many, many years where we did not come back to the UK or Europe. And what's changed is that now through the internet and social media, you have this direct line of communication with your fans. And so I didn't realize that there was such a fan base for this music over here. And then once, the internet and, email and the websites and then social media, then I started getting bombarded with people saying, why are you not coming over here? Why are you not? And I was like, I had no idea that they wanted us to come over here, right? And then I saw other artists in this genre coming over here and like really establishing a large fan base. And I'm like, oh, there is a market for this music over here. So we, several years ago, just started, to really make a commitment. Like, we're going to bring our brand of blues rock to the fans over there, and we're going to start cultivating and building on our fan base. And every time we've come back, it's grown and it's gotten bigger and bigger. And, really that's one of my biggest goals at the top of my list, is to continue working our way up and to get to some of those historic venues over here in Europe, the real prestigious venues, because I think it says something. I mean, obviously it says something about the artist, but it also says something about the genre, for blues. Anytime you get a person like Beth Hart just played at the Royal Albert Hall last year, Bonamassa plays the Royal Albert Hall. Anytime you have an artist in this kind of genre playing in a prestigious venue like that, it not only says something about them, but it says something about the genre and its relevance, as well. And so just to continue to make my contribution to the genre and to the fans over here and build on that, we have a really clear goal, in mind of like trying to build this up. And, there's fans. The fans are like, they love this music. It's not like artist specific. It's not like you can only be a Beth Hart fan or you can only be a Joe Bonamassa fan. It's like they love the music in general, and they love the people that pour their passion into making this music. And so there's room for all of us to be successful and to, enjoy bringing our music to the people over here. And we just want to do that as well.
Fantastic. Kenny, it's been so good talking to you, man. We've run out of time. Just thank you so much for chatting with us. It's been fantastic. One very quick last question. You and Joe Bonamassa, who would win in a fight?
I mean, I don't think that's I don't think that's for me to answer. And I don't think we would ever find the two of us in a fight. Actually, so
be too much to talk about, right?
Yeah, I mean, we get along really great, and we have lots in common. So I don't think it's much worth fighting about between the two of us. We have too many things that we agree on.
That was Big Boy Bloater there talking to the one and only Kenny Wayne Shepherd. He sounded like an awesome guy, bloke.
Yeah, he was really nice, really, really nice, really chatty. Do you know what? The thing was as well, we were pushed for time. He had to go off and do a sound check at a show. And I think if he hadn't have done that, we could have sat there talking ages about cars and stuff like that. But, the work side always gets in the way, doesn't it, eh? God, what are you going to do?
Does, and you weren't able to sort of persuade him to try and, do up your Chevy for you.
Sadly, my Chevy is long gone, and I think it would be even beyond his powers. But
well, that's a massive shame. But do make sure, everyone listening, that you follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook at The Blues Podcast Official and on Instagram at The Blues Podcast now.
Yeah, and don't forget, give us some thumbs up and some likes, and share the love. Tell all your friends about The Blues Podcast. So, until next time, it's bye from The Blues Podcast. Cheerio!
Bye!